Now, would AI be impacting your business?
Tremendously.
And what's the impact of AI?
Yeah.
And I'm just curious from an intellectual standpoint.
Yeah. So it really transformed our business. And like I said, 17 years is a long time, but AI did not exist. And I'd say up until about 5 years ago, AI was not really readily deployable. And if it was for the Pentagon.
Hey, we are back here in Phoenix, Arizona with another episode of MITA Unshackled. I still think we should get our producer a mic. I do not know why he does not have one yet. Oh, you do? Okay, good. That's the first. I didn't know you hooked that up. He is better than Egg McMahon or that little guy from Jimmy Kimmel's show. Forgot his name. Anyways, Dimitri Downing here, and I'm very pleased to introduce you to some wonderful individuals who I know here from Centralized Vision. How are you guys doing today?
We're great.
And so Tommy and Holly, I'll let you guys introduce yourself a little bit about who you are, and then we'll get into Centralized Vision after that. But let's talk about you guys first. Yeah, Tommy, tell us, or Holly, ladies first.
Yeah, ladies first.
Well, my name is Holly Cottrell, and I have been in the cannabis industry here in Arizona since 2010. My husband and I started the first testing lab and sold that off to a partner, and then went on to a vape company, and then owned a dispensary and sold that, and what brought me into design and building. I worked for a company out of Canada for the last 7 years doing that business, and was introduced to Centralized Vision through trade shows in the cannabis industry, and really like what they do and who they are and what their vision is. And so I connected with them to help them and to work with them to be able to connect my cannabis clients that I've worked with in the past to their security and their monitoring systems. So it's been a really, really great.
You're stuck with us now.
Yep, I'm stuck with
you. A little disclaimer, I've known Holly and Steve since 2011. They're one of the families that helped bring out the medical marijuana program in Arizona, helped pass the legalization and develop it out over the years. So this is the first time that we've ever done a podcast together.
It is. And
it's really cool to be interviewing you. I'm going to ask you some tough questions because you know the dirt and the history of everyone in Arizona cannabis.
You don't know me that well, right?
I can plead the fifth, right?
Yes. Remember, she's Steve's. You guys are married, right?
Yeah, 27 years.
Okay.
Almost 28 years.
Congrats.
I just assumed you were Steve's wife, and I never really asked over the years.
Nope, just took his last name. Didn't get married.
You guys just... I haven't seen any papers. You know what? I don't believe anything anymore, I mean, sorry, this cannabis industry has changed me a lot. But yeah, so we're going to have a little discussion about Holly and her past. And then Tommy, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Tom Vigilante, so president and founder.
Tom Vigilante.
Vigilante. I had no choice. So safety and security, it was my destiny. No, Centralized Vision, president and founder. So co-founder. So I couldn't have done this without my wife, Tammy. So between her and I, we've built this organization up. It's been 17 wonderful years as a central station monitoring company. So based here in Phoenix, Arizona, what we thought was going to just be a nice, simple, little easy project here in Greater Phoenix really became much more. And over the course of 17 years is taken us now, I think, into every state and every major city throughout the United States. And now we have the joy and pleasure of providing our services to the masses and beyond. So it's been a hell of a ride, and 25 years now in the industry for me. And like I said, 17 years ago, had an opportunity to expand and become a differentiator in the market.
So we're going to get into what Centralized Vision is and talk a little bit about your systems and stuff. But first, I have to ask a question. What was it like growing up with the last name Vigilante? Everybody's wondering that. Well, I know you're here to learn about cannabis and the industry and people, but yeah, that's a great last name.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, and even better was that my father was a police officer. So we had Officer Vigilante patrolling the streets of New Jersey when I was a small kid. So I'd go chew bubblegum and sit on the sidewalk while he was directing traffic, there in Mars Plains, New Jersey. So as a small kid growing up with a father who not only appreciated associated law enforcement with the last name Vigilante certainly had its perks and benefits. So, but it's been great. I mean, and it certainly is fitting. I mean, I won't deny that. I try to be relatively subdued and humble about the whole thing, but I think people oftentimes say if I had a nickel for every time I had somebody say something like you just did to me, that I wouldn't have to work anymore. So clearly there's not enough nickels here because I'm still working. So
you're the first vigilante that I've known.
there are many of us, but
maybe I was a vigilante once. We could be related.
But we're nice.
Spirit.
We're the nice vigilantes. It was the ancestors.
So Centralized Vision. I know you guys are a big deal already in the cannabis industry, and we want people to know more about what you guys do. What does Centralized Vision do?
Yeah, great question. So a variety of different things, but really we were born with the idea of being able to provide a service and a product now, which we call virtual guards. So we're a national monitoring company. So at the end of the day, it's a very basic concept. It's a big room with the big video wall, much like you would see on television, with a room full of safety certified specialists, which is what we call them. Some people refer to them as agents or operators. We just call them specialists. And they're fulfilling a set of primary objectives that fulfills needs within the marketplace. So you mentioned cannabis, and cannabis is certainly a specific environment that we're able to provide our services within. But we're not industry specific. So we cover, I think, most every vertical that you could potentially throw out our way. We are primarily a commercially run operation or commercially serviceable operation. So very little residential. So think commercial, think primary business.
Maybe like Bill Gates' house or something.
We do some of that, yeah, and by default,
right?
Because so no, I mean we don't say no very often. Let's put it that way. And because of what we do and the way that we provide it, which again makes us pretty unique in the marketplace, we do find ourselves really encountering some really neat opportunities. That's kind of how cannabis came about.
So when did Centralized Vision start monitoring in cannabis?
I would say now, let's see, we started in 07, 08 is really when we started to kind of hit the ground running. I want to say it was probably around 12, 13 that we really started to dip our toe in the pond. And it was really not so much our organization seeking out the opportunities as much as it was the cannabis industry seeking out us without even knowing who we were. And by that, I mean just a different way of providing services. And we're a virtual service, meaning there are no people, there are no boots on the ground. So everything is manned and provided from our central station. So that in and of itself is a concept that still remains slightly unique to people because they're used to the tangible body, the uniform, the badge. They take a tremendous leap of faith in believing that we can emulate that from a virtual location or a central location. How does
that work? How do you get them to build that trust? Because, in my experience in dispensaries and cultivations and stuff, and so many, you go through, you got the wall, you got the security guard that's watching there, falling asleep, drinking his coffee.
Yeah. Obviously,
so it's, how do you explain to people why your service is better?
Well, I think time takes care of a lot of that. And be it that I've been in security for 25 years, I think that's telling. The last name Vigilante, so they know that I mean business. People like Holly, so like we talked about, Holly's become a great consultant to us and a real ambassador of what we do in the marketplace. So, it's about relationships. And now I've been in the Valley for, a real long time now, maybe almost 40 years. And, over the course of time, you develop relationships and I stay connected to people that I meet. And you oftentimes find yourself revisiting those relationships and friendships that you've been able to forge. Mm-hmm. And you start having these really creative conversations that leads to opportunities. So, again, I think people are the greatest conduit in the world, especially in the world of business, and that if you treat people right, you're a good person. We're a husband and wife organization. We've got tremendous pride. I believe we're trustworthy. I appreciate my reputation. So in the end, I think a lot of that just sells the idea of being able to at least trust what we have to say. Second is convincing them to take the leap of faith and spending, their hard-earned money or a good quality dollar on the service that we offer.
So let's talk a little bit more about that service. We don't need to talk about what it costs. They can call you to talk about that. But let's talk about the service and how it works.
Yeah. So we have 3 primary service products. We make it very simple in that engaging one of those or all of them is relatively easy to really, I think, comprehend and just understand. So Virtual Guard, like I mentioned earlier, was really what we were born on. it really started 17, 18, 19 years ago with me just being curious. And, naturally, I find myself being kind of a fixer. So in the marketplace, especially in security, I'm always looking to improve upon what I believe is out there that could potentially do or be used better. So I found myself walking around environments, and I still do this today, and I would look up and I would see surveillance cameras. And naturally, I would ask questions like, what do you do with those? And at the time, centralized vision was not born. So more than anything, just being curious kind of led me to the belief that I could provide some sort of a service, which ultimately led to the idea of centralized vision and what it's become today. Now, you got to imagine 17 years ago, internet wasn't a thing. I laugh and I say even 12, 13 years ago, internet really wasn't a thing. You might remember those T1 lines, and if you had a bundle T1, ooh, you were cooking. So we really did or use technology in a way that it had never been used before. So that's really what was, I think, the impetus with the creation of the service. So looking up, seeing cameras, Virtual Guard, that's kind of a cool name. So we started to take in those surveillance surveillance feeds. We were connecting to those cameras. And then we were having people sitting behind screens monitoring those cameras in real time. It's become, I think, much more extravagant now than it did back then or was back then. But the basic idea still remains the same in that if you have an unmonitored camera, would you ever think to have it monitored live, especially if I could prove to you that it was worthy of being done that way? And 99% of the time, people say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Tom. And at the price we offer it, people are like, that's a no-brainer, Tom. I'd really be remiss if I did not take a shot and put this to test. So
I recognize that the world is going in this direction, and it will be more and more. I watch those little driverless cars cruising around.
Crazy, right?
And the amount of camera data that they're collecting, it's going to be impossible to commit a crime because the driverless cars are going to be wired to the government cameras, and they're going to be able to see that information. Right. That's kind of like what you do, but in a private sense.
Yeah, we sew the technology together. That's the best way that I can explain it. So again, proactive versus reactive, taking advantage of technology that people have made significant investments on that really, in my opinion, continue to not use it to its fullest capability. So surveillance camera. Well, then that became, what if we added a talk-down speaker and it brought my company to life and that I had a voice and I could control culture? Powerful, right? And then what if we could manage card access systems and I could actually greet people and let people in through doors? Wow, that's powerful. So that's that sewing, kind of like you're talking about. So when you're taking advantage of all of that and you're connecting that in some sort of a woven manner, you can do some pretty cool things with that and really ensure that you're managing an environment the way that you want me to manage an environment. So beyond that, not to get too long-winded with the products, but we offer a greeter concierge and then an engineer program. And engineer is big in the cannabis grow because engineer has nothing to do with cameras, but everything to do with smart systems. So oftentimes we have conversations with personnel or managers or VPs, and they're always worried about their grow, their crop, lighting. Lighting is it is very important to grow. Well, lights burn crop. And if those lights aren't managed and the schedules aren't managed, you could cost yourself millions of dollars. And we recognize that. So lighting, temperature, humidity, barometer, flood detection, network health, all of those things fall within the engineer platform. As long as those are on a network and they can talk, we can respond to them, mitigate risk, and really get ahead of what might become otherwise a pretty detrimental scenario.
You spark my imagination. And that's a good thing. That's a good reason why people should work with you, is because these are like startups. It's an evolving industry. Right. There's ideas that haven't even been uncovered yet. Right. And working with somebody like you, who's just your mind's just on fire, and you're going in a lot of different directions, and it's just fantastic that there could be an evolution of the monitoring the systems that hasn't even been discovered yet, and other ideas. So this is just absolutely fantastic. And you also got me thinking that if we work together and we get enough of the cannabis industry under your umbrella, and cameras are everywhere, we could turn the cannabis industry into its own kind of like network. Big brother, kind of like private sector thing. And we can compete with the big brother that's coming 5,000 years from now. No conspiracy theory out there. I'm giving it 5,000 years until 5,000, 50,000 years. we're like the Borg, we're like the Matrix. It's all going to happen.
Right. Well, I'm happy to be on that train, and in the end, it's about making a difference. It's about driving efficiencies. It's about giving people peace of mind, hope, belief that what we do matters, and it can be done in a way to where it maintains efficiencies.
And people save money with this approach.
People are expensive, and you got to remember too that we're a non-union state, non-union city, but where you're in Chicago, New York, some of these big cities, you can only imagine the dollars and cents that are being spent, not just to support union workers, but to be able to maintain that. You're talking about people as a whole in general, oftentimes being difficult to employ and find and keep, because people are always looking for the next big thing, which is great. I totally endorse that. But at the end of the day, yeah, you're right. I mean, the cost of a person could be $40 an hour, and just to support everything associated to that, we're a fraction of that cost.
So you work with hundreds of cannabis companies already, and maybe we can talk about some examples, maybe some anecdotes, some stories that you want to share about some cool stuff that's happened.
How much time do you have?
We'll get into that. But so you're like a warehouse full of television monitors and people watching them. How does it work?
Yeah. So no,
are you allowed to say how it works without?
Well, I mean, you sign.
I don't want to
just sign an NDA.
Tell anybody how many people are listening or will listen.
We need an NDA for everyone.
It's a lot. I can't say. Oh, right. Okay. Well, then in that case, I'm definitely telling you.
The only person you have to worry about is the producer. Don't tell him how to log in.
Well,
He'll hack it.
He doesn't have a microphone, so he can't talk back to me. So.
I do have a microphone.
Showing off again. No. So at the end of the day, we're in a commercial Class A office building, and we've been there now for about 7 years. We just expanded that. So as it stands, we're a 5,000 square foot national command center. So inside of that,
I like the sound of that.
Me too.
I do too, and it's awesome. It's amazing in there.
It's a nice professional environment. It's got a really neat feel. We host open houses. We do open our doors from time to time. Michelle Schemmel is our director of channel development, and Michelle does a great job in not only promoting our business but hosting that. And sometimes seeing is believing, and not everybody is capable of envisioning what we do. So we do have partners fly in from all over the country or end user customers from all over the country just to see and understand in real time what it is we do and how we do it. It is difficult to really conceptualize. You just got to believe it, and in the end, 17 years time speaks to our ability to prove that what we're doing is sustainable. We have very low attrition. People do like what we do. And again, I think we have enough advocates now in the marketplace to be able to depend on to really sing our praises as well and kind of champion what we're doing.
Absolutely.
So, and that's again, kind of how Holly and I got synced up here. So,
So have you ever thought about outsourcing to another country?
I have. I just think there's something about U.S. business and local to Arizona.
Said the right words. USA.
Yeah, one of us. So no, in the end,
I just think about the labor costs.
Well, I mean, again, we're pretty darn inexpensive. So if it gets to a point to where I can't afford to operate and run my business here locally, I don't know what that would mean to me. I mean, as it is, we're not increasing our costs. We're not driving, our margins aren't differing from year to year. We're able to maintain a pretty good baseline set of price points that are very aggressive in the marketplace. People continue to say yes. We're growing year over year at numbers and rates that I could have never even imagined. So the market continues to say it's palatable. Yes. I'm willing to do business with you the way that you're structured. So I don't see a need to source that or have staffing provided overseas per se. I'm not there.
Now, would AI be impacting your business?
Tremendously.
And what's the impact of AI?
Yeah.
And I'm just curious from an intellectual standpoint.
Yeah. So it really transformed our business. And like I said, 17 years was a long time, but AI did not exist. And I'd say up until about 5 years ago, AI was not really readily deployable. And if it was for the Pentagon. I mean, it was really expensive.
Right.
It was not user-friendly. It was not user-based as far as affordability is concerned. It wasn't really deployable. A lot of manufacturers and softwares weren't really deploying this either. So as it stands, and again, it bears mentioning that we're an agnostic monitoring company. So we don't sell equipment. I don't sell AI. I don't service equipment. My wife would have killed me if I would have done that. She just wanted to be great at one thing. So we're a great monitoring company. So we're an adopter of technology, whether we call it legacy equipment.
But whose equipment works the best.
We definitely have our favorites. And at the evolution, at the rate that the technology continues to advance, we become a beneficiary of that. So, but the long and short of it is, we have a tremendous partner network, and you talk about how unique we are and what differentiates us. There are so many different things, but in the end, being willing to adopt technology in its native form is really unique to our organization. Most, if not all, competitors in our space sell equipment and they monitor their own equipment. You have a lot of control over that, right? So
Right.
a lot of check and balance. We took a risk a long time ago by saying we want it to be truly unique and we wanted to be able to service everybody in a way that made most sense to them without coming to them to try to force something on them or having them respend or go back to the drawing board and investing another, whatever, $10, $20, $30,000 in a surveillance system when they just bought one that's perfectly fine, but yet the company wouldn't take it on. So from us, in the end, the partner network is everything. And be it that we're agnostic, they introduce us to AI. And what we're finding now is there are multiple types of AIs out there. So there's more than one way to skin that cat, right? So what it means to us now is that we're, again, very pliable. So we're willing to work with any AI platform, and we're willing to get to know what it does to drive our efficiencies, much like it would be from a manufacturer to manufacturer standpoint. We don't shove that onto one VMS. It doesn't all look the same in our command center. Everything is different. It's our brain damage, but we've gotten really good at curing that with the special kind of medicine that we take, this Tylenol. So
you're absolutely fantastic. I want to push you to work on our project. You can take over the cameras here.
We do a lot of this type of stuff. This wonderful building we're in here, we could absolutely monitor that.
Yeah, maybe we should. Can we do that? I don't know. I'm not sure.
We'll talk off camera. I brought contracts.
I try to turn off our cameras, I don't want to know why. But it's absolutely fantastic. So tell us a little bit about, you started in the cannabis industry a few years ago. Are you experiencing anything different from cannabis? Any unique stories that makes cannabis unique from all the other industries that you're working with?
Well, and I'll kind of tie it back to AI. So AI now, compared to where we were years ago, we were doing live looks and live inspections. We're still doing a fair amount of that, but the AI now is talking to us in a way to where it's keeping us more aware now than we've ever been before. So real good human detection, the ability to tell the difference between a human and a pet, for example, or a dog or a coyote or whatever it might be, real true vehicle detection, loitering. So if somebody is pacing around, the camera has and the software has the ability now to discern that and to detect it and to notify us instantly. So you can imagine our specialists sitting in a room just waiting on the ready to sit and visually verify if what they see needs a certain level of attention or not. So as a result of that, we're seeing more and more things now just because of that AI. So a really good example there as to how AI drives our efficiencies. But listen, I mean, in the end, this isn't unique to anybody in the marketplace. And whether it's, smoke, fire, pooling water, loitering, vagrant activity, illegal illicit drug use,
inappropriate employee relations,
inappropriate relations. Holy cow!
My bad.
We do, I mean,
Loss mitigation.
You guys were all thinking it. Come
on.
Oh,
jeez, yeah. Thinking it, we get to see it. So,
yes.
Of course, we huddle it. No, I'm just kidding.
I know this is. Now the real good stories are coming out.
Baby.
Unshackled.
I'm figuring this out.
Here we go. So we're not talking about cannabis anymore. Now we're in multifamily housing and in the swimming pool environments. No,
multifamily
housing,
swimming pools. Okay.
You see the best and unfortunately you see the worst and and everything in between. So fortunately, the training that we provide our teams of specialists really enables them, I think, to have the coping skills needed in order to really manage any situation and in any environment in a way that not only keeps us professional, but allows for us to potentially cure whatever it is we're dealing with. So, but yeah,
I'll hold your next thought because I'm sure it's a good one.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you things. Since we're not going to go down the dark side, let me ask you this.
Right.
Have you guys ever huddled up and gotten together and say, hey, look at this, this guy helped this little old lady across the road
talking
there.
about you? Is this you?
And look,
we don't monitor your
that's
property.
humanity. That's human
Yes,
nature.
yes.
How beautiful it is. Nobody was looking.
Yes.
And look at the wonderful things that people do. Has that ever happened?
And specifically in retail cannabis. So what's great about what we do is we're a 24/7, 365 monitoring company. So again, a key differentiator is we don't just monitor environments overnight. So now AI doesn't necessarily work in an active environment because you'd be getting tripped all the time, which means that we have to do the opposite. We just have to sit and watch. And humanity is really cool, especially when you see acts of kindness. So we drive like employee performance, and we're ensuring that employees, especially in retail environments, are acting in a way that really speaks to the brand. So if I go to a specific cannabis retail store, I want to feel like I'm different and special. And who's going to do that for me or for you would be obviously one of your employees. So we've seen it to where people trip and fall. We see it to where people get hurt. And oftentimes we'll see it to where the retail employees come over and they help them, or they pick them up, or someone in a wheelchair will come in and they'll help roll them up, and they'll really be a good shepherd and just really taking very good care of them in those environments. So what's cool is we work with the general managers and or the store managers, and we're constantly telling them about these different situations. Why? So they can be recognized when they normally probably wouldn't be. So we're always kind of looking out. So it isn't all about, bad guys and crooks. It's about maintaining a good environment and just giving credit where credit is due. And oftentimes I don't think employees get recognized enough. So that's a fun part of our business.
We don't try to be that positive here at MITA Unshackled. We're like
I'm picking
Google
up on that.
raccoon dumpster fire. See what comes up. No, but that's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing. That's actually that's a positive.
That was a
thought,
big
too.
part of why I was so enthralled with what they do, and when I was learning about them, and through the having a dispensary, when you have the ability to see that, you don't see that as your general manager walking around, or anyone, even their ASM for the day. You don't see that. You don't see your employees, every single person interacting. You don't. This also will show them if they're taking from the till. There's loss mitigation in this. It's drilling down into every single employee that you have that's behind a camera, that and there's cameras everywhere in these dispensaries, and the grows, is somebody taking a plant out the door, I mean, there's so many things that go on that they see constantly, that to me that sells itself, because I don't have to have some boots on the ground looking for that every day. I know if my register's low, I can go back on the camera and say, hey, Tom, send me this.
Just point of sale.
And here it is. Here you are taking, money out of the till or whatever it is. Or here you are picking up the lady who fell down, when she was walking out the door. Whatever it is, it helps not having to have all, it helps being able to see all that, not having all boots on the ground to do that. You get it 24/7.
I'm wondering how we could put up a camera here in the studio and monitor Eric, our producer.
Better behave yourself, Eric.
Got to get him wired in with a microphone, right? Well, and you're right, regulatory compliance. So that's big for us too. And be it that we are in every licensed state that can and or supply cannabis product, we are a part of as well. So maintaining and managing that on their behalf, compiling data. So what I'm getting at is we're almost an extension. We're like an employee of their own, and or a manager that they never had. And by just fulfilling a set or series of initiatives or needs on their behalf saves them tremendous time. The greatest gift that I think we can give to people is time, especially in that sense. So if you had more time, what could you do? Well, it really begs the question. And then we start talking, and that's where people start to say, if you can do this, boy, you're really going to change my world. We've done that. And that's, I think, again, why we've expanded. So driving efficiencies, managing no zones. Where do people go? Where shouldn't they go? What are they doing when they're there?
Right.
And you guys are well versed then on all the different regulations and laws of all the different states. Yeah. Are there any states that have interwoven into the state system access to the cameras and stuff? I really don't get nuance like this.
On the store level, so every store can do what we can do. They just don't do it because everybody likes a good night's sleep. So, what we give them back is, again, the peace of mind and knowing that we got you. So could they review it? Sure. Do they want to review it? Probably not. Again, with a service like ours at the rates that we're providing them, it puts them in a position that we're like, I'd be nuts to do this on my own because I trust you in doing the same thing for me at a fraction of the cost. So again, I keep talking about that, but at the end of the day, we are able to do that and manage and maintain that on their behalf. So
no, it's fantastic. I mean, was it Whitney Houston that said, was it love or time? Love. The greatest gift is love. Sorry, I was thinking about.
We also need to hit on that. When you have your alarm go off in your store or your grow or whatever, the first call is the manager or whoever. And I can't tell you the number of calls that we got in the middle of the night at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's the wind or it's the rain or it's whatever. It's inside the store, that it's nothing that we need to get up or call the police for. So they call them. Or they're first, and then they call you only if it's something that needs to be called. So they monitor your whole environment so that you know that it's safe, or whatever the reason is, they'll, that you don't get the phone call from the, waking you up all hours of the night. That's one of the things that I hated the most. It was those calls in the middle of the night, and it happens all the time.
Especially
all the
this time of year back east with the snow and the wind.
all the time.
So 98% of all burglar alarms have been statistically proven to be false, which, again, they're a necessary evil, but unfortunately they're wildly inaccurate. And it's the 2% that keeps you up at night.
That's right.
God forbid you don't answer the phone when it's one of those, and that's the one that you should have been paying attention to. But even when you do, you're fumbling around your phone, you're trying to load your cameras, why do any of that when you could just have that monitoring company calling our center directly by saying, hey, it's Tom's monitoring. I had a zone 2 burglar alarm. What's your verbal password? We give it to them. They turn it over to us. They're gone. We turn on all the cameras. We're not blind. I say blind. The burglar alarm monitoring companies don't monitor cameras. So who better than to be, again, kind of ascertain what the heck's going on than a live eye monitoring company, live eye, cameras. We turn them on. We look around. We're looking for the bad guy. Is he wearing the bad guy uniform? Is he up to no good? Are we dispatching a local security company just to be safe? Are we calling the police because we have an active crime in progress? We only wake up the end user if they need to be woken up.
Right.
Otherwise, we're logging that, filing reports, sending them all that. They wake up the next day and they're like, praise Centralized Vision.
Right.
This is great.
Right. I got a full night's sleep tonight. Woohoo.
Right.
From startup to mom and pop
Yep.
to MSO, you work with all
of them. So no company is too big. So we work with some of the
company's too small.
No company's too small, and that's a good point. Again,
MITA might be too small.
Yeah, you guys, this little studio. No. Listen, we like I said, we have a hard time saying no. So we are a yes first company. We are completely customizable. So whether it's a Johnny's tire shop where he's got one camera, or it's a K through 12 school which we monitor, or a hospital, or a cannabis grow with 400 cameras, or anywhere in between or anywhere above, we got you. So, and we do that currently. And what's most important to say? It works.
Yes,
it actually works.
I want to work with you, and I mean, this is exciting. I love it. I'm inspired. All these ideas are crossing my mind. So how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah. Well, so like I said, with Holly, I'll kind of let her speak to that. But as a consultant working closely with our organization and Michelle, the two of them are really leading the charge. So, who better to explain that than you, and how to get a hold of you?
Well, we'll give you the email address and the phone number. You call in, send an email. We're happy to, respond to an email. We're happy to take a phone call. Typically if the first is just a contact, and once we have that, Michelle and I will get on a Zoom call, and we'll, kind of go over everything. We've got, good, Michelle has good
content, marketing content.
Thank you. I lost my mind there.
We got tons of that stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? It sells itself once you understand what it is. It really does sell itself, and it's just a matter of, like you said, like getting the trust and having them understand what you do and where it comes from and how it's monitored. And I think through stories and things like that, with me being in the cannabis industry and knowing what goes on and having those phone calls in the middle of the night and knowing that you can, appraise your people or your loss mitigation and things like that, I think that, that's a really good.
So is this National Command Center?
That sounds, that's really cool.
That's
I like it when you say it. It sounds better than what
I want to see it now.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Come on by.
It's really cool.
Late at night.
Yeah. Oh, dark and
pool houses or whatever it was.
I see a bunch of eyeballs in there just staring at screens.
You can sort through it all, so I don't have to wait. Show me the good stuff.
CentralizedVision.com. We've got a great website. Just put another fresh coat of polish on it. There's imagery in there. We don't use stock photos. So when you see the command center posted throughout that, that's us. So you kind of get a glimpse into our world. We're actually in the process of adding some additional photos in there. We have a really cool server room with all the twinkling lights in the blue hue, and that'll land on the website as well. So you'll get a pretty good flavor for who we are just by going to that. We got a great contact page on there as well. So there's an info@centralizedvision.com email address that anybody can use. And just by simply reaching out through that, it will land within Michelle and Holly's workspace. So
dispensaries across the country, Maryland, New Jersey,
all of it.
Retail,
New York.
Manufacturing, processing, cultivations, all of it. Everyone with cameras, you guys can handle.
We can absolutely handle it, and we're growing. So we just expanded.
International as well?
Well, we've done some international work. Yeah, my story goes on from here, but I don't want to bore all the listeners. But
no.
But no, at the end of the day, yeah, we've we've been fortunate enough to work throughout some spaces in Canada. We do early fire detection. It's a long story, but at the end of the day, forest fire prevention and being a part of that is a proud moment for our organization. So we monitor all of Napa County, Sonoma County, all the wine country up in there. So there are these cameras that are perched on top of these really tall masts that see for miles and miles and miles, that have thermal. We were honored to align with one of our partners and go to market and provide a really good solution that prevented fires from becoming small fires from becoming big fires. And that's been a primary initiative. Anyway, throughout Canada, we were providing and continue to provide that service. So yeah, it's cool. We continue to expand and grow. We're very particular about how we do it. And the way that we provide the service is there's a lot of finesse. It's not just to turn it on, look for bad guys. We're a scope-driven organization. We're very intimate. And again, not to get too far off, but a lot of people ask, like, what do you need? I ask, why do you need it? And the more I learn about an environment, I think the more value I can provide. So I want to get to know everything that makes your environment unique. And the more that I can address the uniqueness, I think, again, the more you appreciate how I interact and how I make you feel like this is worthy of your almighty dollar.
That is absolutely incredible. I mean, I was so many ideas come to my mind. We have to hang out together. But we are thrilled. I have one last question though, because I'm thinking to myself, the data, the amount of images, the amount of stuff that you have for years and years, and 200 plus cannabis organizations and all the other industries. Do you save it all? Do you have to dump it all?
Good question. No. So again, this is what kind of makes us, it's one of our key differentiators.
Sorry, I know we're over, but it's just a curious thing.
We're on a roll. I'm having fun. I can talk all day. Have you met me? So no, at the end of the day, everything we do and everything we connect to stays local on the client's site. So what does that mean? It means I don't take in any equipment. I don't sell any equipment.
Okay.
I'm simply just tapping in through a virtual private network or an IP address and opening up ports. And I don't do it justice. I don't talk tech that well. But at the end of the day, I'm just gaining access in through their data, through their network, and I'm just hitting that device on their end, which has its own local hard drive. Now, storage as a service, sure, can we provide it? Absolutely. So if you're limited with your storage, we've got big servers, and we can certainly offer them access to those to store footage beyond maybe what their local environment can offer to them. Not a primary offering from us, but certainly something we could do. But no, it's all on their side. Makes doing business with us clean. You don't want me anymore? Just cut me off.
Right. And certainly, I mean, I'm listening to this, and you're such an expert in the field, and you're only selling one element of it. Your knowledge and expertise of all the other elements of it will help them evolve their understanding and their practices. And so you're an absolute guy that should call Holly as your representative. People should reach out to her. And that's fantastic.
She's great, and she hasn't spoken too much today, but she really is the expert when it comes to the world. I do a lot. Believe it or not, I do listen a lot. She is way prettier than me. Thank goodness.
You're a good-looking guy too.
Oh, you stop it! I already said yes. We're going out for a drink. Right? Got it.
Doesn't he? Doesn't he?
Yeah. I tried just to impress. I dusted it off, but no. At the end of the day, Holly's great. It's been an absolute joy working with her, and of course Michelle as well. And I do a lot of listening, and Holly's taught me an awful lot about what I should be paying attention to in order to be able to provide the service into the industry in this wonderful world of cannabis. So,
well, I appreciate you guys being here today, and I certainly have learned and grown from this podcast. So our industry viewers out there should will learn as well, and they should definitely reach out to you to see how they can take things to the next level, whatever they're doing.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate the endorsement. It's been wonderful. Thank you for the opportunity. Hopefully we get to do it again someday.
Yeah,
this is kind of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
We'll
definitely.
get Michelle on it next time.
Yeah.
We do a lot of live stuff where we're just taking people's opinion on what's happening in the environment that we're in, whether it's a conference or a MITA event or doing the Super Bowl. We're doing this weird thing. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for watching MITA Unshackled. This has been another fantastic episode of MITA Unshackled, and we'll see you again soon.